Hey there and welcome. In the last video, I showed you around GitHub and downloaded Git together. In this one, we'll be continuing our version control journey. We'll be putting it all to practice and creating a repo from Visual Studio using Git. Let's get started. So one thing I wanted to show you before we jump right to Visual Studio Code is that we'll be using Git Bash, the CLI, and if you come write Git cheat sheet, then you can open this one. It's from Git Education. GitHub posted it. And you can see a lot of comments here along with the setup where you set your username, your email. You can also set a lot of different things. You can initialize a repository, add the files, but we'll be going through these. I just wanted to show you that this is a tool that you can always have a look at and a great cheat sheet. I use it whenever I'm stuck. So with that being said, let's get right into VS Code. So in VS Code, I have a folder open and I can come here and say new terminal. The new terminal will by default, if you're on Windows that is, open a Windows PowerShell. But we don't need that. We need, if you come here, a Git Bash. So we're Git bashing this folder, and this is only possible because we've downloaded Git before. And coming to our cheat sheet, as you can see in the setup, we have to first of all set our git config. That means we're going to set it globally so that it all across our repositories on this PC. We will have the username set to whatever your git username is. So I'll come here and say git config -- global. You could also set it to -- local if you wished for, but global is going to do just fine for me. User.name, and then inside the quote tags we're going to say wolf then code. Now it's going to mess with me a bit because the last time I copied it and I had two values set for the user.name now, but we'll see how this affects everything. So I just continue now and say user.email, and this one's going to be your email. Great. Now that this is set, to initialize a repository, you can always come here. This is the Git tab in the VS Code section, the source control tab. You can initialize the repository here, or, because that's kind of straightforward, I'll show you the terminal option, Git Init. And if you say Git Init, it will create a Git file right in this folder. Or you could give it a name, which is what we'll do for demonstration purposes, like Git guide. And this will create a new folder. If you look here, this is our folder. For now, I'll come here, open the folder, and open the Git guide inside it. We'll have to get a new terminal now. Of course, as again, set it to Git Bash. And in the source control tab, you can see it's changed. Now it says publish branch. What this means is that you can push it to GitHub if you wish to. Now, as for commits, first of all, let's create a new file here. Index.html for an example, and I say HTML5. Okay. Now, source control is going to track our files. You see, before we initialized the repository, there were no files there, and even when we initialized it. But now, it's looking for changes, and it says that there has been a change. An index.html file has been created, and from nothing, the values have changed to these, but I've written in them. If I now come to our index.html and write a p tag there, for example, wolf then code, save it, then it will appear in the changes section there. This is the power of version control. It will track the changes and you can easily commit this and push this to the repository. But before committing, we have to stage the certain changes that have been made to our file. Staging means that they will then be ready to be committed. To stage a commit, you can either come here press right click and stage changes, or you could also discard them if you don't like them. Or the CLI way is git stage and index.html. If you press tab twice, it will automatically correct you. So if I press this now, you can see that there is a new section called staged changes. Now that this is staged, I can say git commit -m. This will say that message, so it stands for message. And I can say first commit. By doing this, that will disappear and we have our first commit. We'll have to publish it later, but first I want to show you some different things before we do that. Now, one more thing, if we say let's change an age 1, just to make some changes here, you see the changes appear, and now this is the code before. It indicates that there has been a new line added there, and the new line is actually an age 1 that we've given. If we now do it the same way, but in fact I'll show you a different one. Let's say we also create a style.css. Inside this one we'll say age 1, color blue. Just for the sake of demonstration, you see there are now 2 files that have appeared. And if now I'd had to say git stage, index.html and style.css. But instead what I will do is git add, so we are adding all the files to the staged files, -- all or -- all. This will give all the files to the stage section. There you go. And now we can say git commit -m, and we'll say second commit. Great, now we're done. And the third way, which I wanted to show you how to do, is by coming to our index.html, or sorry, style.css, writing some things here, color Alice blue, I don't know, some random things. Then h2 here. Now the changes of course will appear on both sides. And the third way to do it is through the VS Code's visual section, which I prefer. So we'll say the message for the commit there. There it says, let's say third commit. Like this. If you say commit, it will ask that there are no stages to this commit. Would you like to stage all your changes and commit them directly? You could say always or never. I prefer simply to say yes and rather let it ask me all the time. So if we say yes, then it has already committed, staged and committed them all along. Now, to make this work, we could say publish the branch. The branch is the master, that is the main branch. And if you say publish, you can say what the name it will be. Git guide will do just fine for me. And you could choose private or public. This is why VS Code is very useful. I say public. And now it's uploading the files. It may ask you to log in through Git. It may ask me as well. And if we come back now to our repositories, you can see this is our Git guide. And inside the Git guide, they are all already pushed up. So there is the index.html and the style.css, and here you can see we have 3 commits. If you come here, you'll see the first commit, second commit, and the third commit. In the first commit, of course, we don't have the style.css yet. But in the second one, we do have the style.css. So it's tracking the files from checkpoint to checkpoint, basically. Alright. So that's it for this one. If you liked the video and found it helpful, make sure to drop a like below and subscribe to our channel. With that being said, I'll see you in the next one.